Radio TV phono nut here, and we have something that was a gift from a viewer, and I thank you very much for that. It's a Sears little plastic case Kiddie phonograph with a clear plastic detachable lid. I'd say it's probably from the late 70s, early 80s, and it looks like something that was probably built by Interstate Industries. I figure they were trying to make these have the little component stereo type look with the clear plastic lid over the record changer, so that's what they were trying to do here. I'm told that the last time this was used it would play a record, but it had severe wow and flutter issues, so we're going to try to fix that today. Alright, Sears, we have a knob for on-off volume, and we have our speed selector, 33, neutral, and 45. Most likely this is a Matsushita mechanism. We have these goofy safety screws. It looks like somebody has already removed them part of the way. And then we have our do not open, no user serviceable parts warning here, which means about as much to me as nothing. So yeah, I accept the challenge. Yeah, that motor is kind of noisy. It probably needs oil. That center platter bearing needs oil. Let's pull the 45 adapter up. Alright, it's rotating. Alright, let's see what happens. It's not too bad. I can tell it a little bit, but okay. And this looks to have an static 146, which is like a 2.5 volt crystal cartridge. I'm surprised that's still working. Alright, let's get it apart and do a little lube and clean on this, and hopefully we'll be good to go. Here's the inside, not much to it. 4-inch speaker that I think has a 77 date code on it, and a little IC based amplifier. And we have our shaded pole AC motor with a separate winding that provides AC, a low AC voltage to the amplifier, and that motor is definitely Matsushita. Well, on these models, you have to remove the 45 adapter in order to get the clip off that holds the platter in place, and these adapters can be a little bit tricky to remove, and given the age of this plastic, they can also break, so you got to be careful with that. I'm glad that didn't break. And there's our clip. You can see how it's situated there. And there we are exposed. Yeah, these Matsushita mechanisms were considerably cheaper than, say, a General Industries or an Alliance motor, but that's the reason they started using these in these Kiddie phonographs and in some of the cheaper school phonographs. Alright, I oiled the motor, and on this one, the motor is riveted together, so you can't easily take it apart like you can on some of the better drive mechanisms, but this motor does have oil ports on it, and I did put a little oil on the shaft and let it run down into the bushing assembly. I took the idler wheel off, cleaned all the dried grease off of the shaft, cleaned the inner hole of the idler wheel, the bushing there, and then I cleaned the surface of the idler wheel and the motor shaft and the inner rim of the turntable, and I've cleaned the gunk off of the spindle. We're going to put some fresh lubricant on that and put it all back together, and this thing will hopefully be ready to go. Okay, platter is back on, and you can see that's a lot quieter now whenever I rotate the platter than it was to start with. So let's see. Okay, that acting like it didn't want to catch there. 33. Alright, that's acting like it's not wanting to catch. And I think I got a little bit of oil on the wheel surface by accident. That's easy enough to do, and now it seems to be operating okay. Alright, it's working now. Running too fast, but that's pretty much the nature of the beast for these Matsushita motors. I could file down the capstan, but I'm not really that worried about it. I'm sure the stylus is not in good shape in this, but we can worry about that later. At least it's playing the... Alright, here we are on 33. Yeah, that's running considerably fast. Make a BSR changer seem like it's running at the correct speed, though, but like I said, that's the nature of these little cheap Kiddie mechanisms in these that Matsushita made. Alright, it's back together, and I ESR tested the two capacitors that were in there, and they're fine, so I think this cartridge is probably a bit weak. No, I wouldn't expect this to get ultra loud, but I would expect it to get louder than it is, but right now that's just going to have to do. Okay, so there you go, a rarity. Let's see, the last video was, what, over 3 hours? This one's going to be less than 10 minutes, but there wasn't much to this one, just a general cleaning and lubrication, and that got this one back in business somewhat. So I hope you got something out of this, and more to come next time. And what's sad is, as cheap as this record player was back in the late 70s, it's still a better record player than your average Crosley or Victrola suitcase model that you would buy for $49.95 at Walmart.